Japanese infantry could engage American positions at 800 meters maximum with their Type 92 machine gun. The Browning M250 caliber could kill them at 2,000 meters. For 10 minutes, Americans could fire at Japanese troops who couldn't fire back. This wasn't just a range advantage. This was a weapon that made every Japanese tactic obsolete. Here's what happened when Japanese light infantry doctrine met American industrial firepower. The Browning M250 caliber heavy barrel, designed by John Browning in 1918, perfected in 1933. Chambered in 50 BMG 12.7 x 99 millimeters, a massive round. The gun alone weighed 84 pounds, 128 pounds with tripod. Rate of fire between 450 and 600 rounds per minute. Effective range of 2,000 meters, over 1 mile. Muzzle velocity of 2,900 feet per second. This wasn't a rifle-caliber machine gun like the German MG42 or Japanese Type 92. It wasn't quite artillery. It filled the gap. The versatility was remarkable. Infantry support on tripod mounts, vehicle mounted on jeeps, trucks, half-tracks, aircraft armament on P-51s, P-47s, B-17s, anti-aircraft and quad mounts, naval weapons on PT boats and destroyers. It was used everywhere by everyone. One weapon, unlimited roles. What did Japanese infantry face? Their primary machine gun was the Type 92, nicknamed the Woodpecker for its distinctive sound. The Type 92 was heavier but less powerful than the 50 cal. Japanese light machine guns didn't help. The Type 96 fired a 6.5 millimeter round, underpowered. The Type 99 used 7.7 millimeters, better but still rifle caliber. None could match the 50 cal's range or power. The gap was enormous. The 50 cal had 2,000 meter range and could penetrate light armor. Japan's best had 800 meters range and was anti-personnel only. Japan had nothing comparable. Their anti-tank weapons weren't better. The Type 97 anti-tank rifle fired 20 millimeter rounds but weighed 68 pounds, had limited ammunition, and only 250 meters effective range. It couldn't even match the 50 cal's versatility. Let's start with the range advantage, because this defined every engagement. The 50 cal could engage Japanese positions at 1,500 to 2,000 meters. Japanese machine guns maxed out at 800 meters. Americans could fire for 10 minutes or more before Japanese troops could return fire. Guadalcanal, 1942 to 1943. American 50 cal positions were mounted on ridges overlooking Japanese positions. Japanese night attacks had to cross 1,000 meters of 50 cal fire before reaching U.S. lines. Surviving Japanese soldiers described it as steel rain they couldn't escape. They were being killed before they could fight back. Tarawa, 1943. 50 cals mounted on landing craft suppressed Japanese bunkers from 1,500 meters out. Japanese return fire was ineffective at that range. Marines landed under a 50 cal protective umbrella that Japanese defenders couldn't penetrate. The Philippines, 1944 to 1945. 50 cals mounted on jeeps roamed roads and destroyed Japanese outposts from beyond rifle range. Japanese infantry could see the American gun, but couldn't reach it with their weapons. They were helpless. The psychological impact was devastating. Being shot at with no ability to return fire created helplessness. Morale collapsed when the 50 cal opened up. Japanese tactics changed. Avoid open areas entirely. Move only at night. Stay in jungle cover. The 50 cal had forced a complete tactical shift. But staying in fortifications didn't help because the 50 cal could penetrate them. Japanese defensive strategy relied on bunkers made from logs, coconut logs, coral, and sandbags. These were designed to stop rifle and light machine gun fire. The assumption was that heavy weapons would be artillery, which was predictable and could be reinforced against. The 50 cal changed everything. 50 BMG armor-piercing rounds penetrated 3 to 4 layers of sandbags. They punched through coconut log bunkers common on Pacific Islands.
Peleliu, 1944. Japanese forces reinforced cave positions throughout the island. Americans moved 50 cals to cave openings and fired point-blank into the caves. The effect was catastrophic.
Iwo Jima, 1945. Japanese bunkers with firing slits were positioned throughout the island. Americans placed .50 cals 300 to 500 meters away and aimed at the slits. The rounds penetrated through the narrow openings, killed the gunners inside, and disabled the weapons. Japanese defenders couldn't fire back without exposing themselves to .50 cal fire. Okinawa, 1945. Japanese forces used tomb fortifications made from stone and concrete. The .50 cal chipped away at these positions continuously. The psychological effect was as important as the physical damage. Constant pounding prevented rest and resupply. Defenders couldn't move without exposure. There were the Banzai charges. Japanese Banzai charge doctrine relied on mass infantry assault to close with the enemy and overwhelm them in close-quarters combat, where Japanese soldiers excelled. It worked against bolt-action rifles and light machine guns that had limited sustained fire. Attackers could exploit reload pauses to close the distance. The .50 cal made Banzai charges. It was belt-fed with 105-round belts as standard. It could fire continuously for minutes without reloading. There was no pause for Japanese attackers to exploit, and the stopping power was catastrophic. A single .50 BMG round could kill 2 to 3 men in tight formation. Charges were stopped 200 to 300 meters out before they ever reached American lines. Japanese light armor fared no better. Japanese tank doctrine emphasized light tanks for infantry support. The Type 95 Hago and Type 97 Chiha had thin armor, 6 to 12 millimeters frontal, 6 millimeters on the sides. The philosophy was speed and mobility over protection. Against the .50 cal, this was fatal. .50 cal armor-piercing rounds could penetrate 25 millimeters at 500 meters. Japanese tank armor was 6 to 12 millimeters. The math was simple. The .50 cal over-penetrated Japanese tanks easily. Japan's response came too late. In 1945, they started producing the Type 3 Chi-Nu with 50 millimeters of armor. Only 166 were made, and all were kept in Japan for homeland defense. Throughout the Pacific War, Japanese forces fought with Type 95 and Type 97 thin-skinned tanks that the .50 cal could penetrate effortlessly. The anti-aircraft role was equally devastating. Japanese air tactics relied on low-level attacks by torpedo bombers and dive bombers. Kamikaze attacks from 1944 to 1945 used the same approach. The assumption was that ship anti-aircraft would be smaller caliber weapons like 20mm and 40mm guns. The .50 cal created a killing zone they didn't expect. U.S. ships mounted multiple quad .50 cal installations. 4 guns firing together produced 1,800 to 2,400 rounds per minute combined. Cruisers and battleships carried 20 or more .50 cal guns. Pilots described it as flying into solid steel. The Battle of Midway, June 1942. .50 cal anti-aircraft fire damaged or destroyed multiple Japanese dive bombers. It disrupted torpedo runs. It contributed to Japanese pilots missing the USS Yorktown on multiple attack runs. The ammunition versatility made one gun serve multiple roles. M2 ball rounds were standard anti-personnel that penetrated light cover. M8 armor-piercing incendiary rounds penetrated armor and started fires, perfect for vehicles and aircraft. Japanese tanks and planes caught fire when hit. M1 tracer rounds, typically every 5th round, showed the fire path. The psychological effect on Japanese troops seeing death coming toward them was significant. M20 armor-piercing incendiary tracer rounds combined penetration, fire, and visibility in one round. The advantage was clear. The same gun could switch roles by changing ammunition. Japanese forces needed different weapons for different targets. The .50 was one gun for all roles. Japanese forces tried to counter it. They restricted movement to night and jungle to avoid open areas. This slowed their operations and reduced effectiveness, but they were still vulnerable to .50 ambushes. They used snipers to specifically hunt .50 cal crews. The problem was that .50 cal range meant snipers had to get dangerously close. Americans responded by shielding gunners and using multiple crew members. Japanese forces tried indirect fire with mortars and artillery to destroy .50 cal positions without direct assault. But the .50 was mobile and relocated quickly, and American counter-battery fire was superior. When possible, Japanese forces used captured American .50 cals. The problem was ammunition scarcity and no industrial base to produce more. Americans stopped leaving weapons intact, destroying them before retreating. Japan never developed an industrial response. They never created a comparable weapon. The closest was a 13.2mm Hotchkiss of French design with very limited production. Industrial capacity was focused on aircraft and ships, not machine guns. Why couldn't Japan match it? Industrial capacity was the fundamental problem. America produced approximately 2 million .50 cal guns from 1940 to 1945 across all models. Japan never developed an equivalent. America could afford to give heavy machine guns multiple roles. Japan couldn't due to resource scarcity. It was also a doctrinal mismatch. Japanese doctrine emphasized light infantry and maneuver warfare. American doctrine emphasized firepower superiority and industrial warfare. The .50 symbolized the American approach. Japan prioritized resources for their navy with aircraft carriers and battleships. Infantry weapons were lower priority. They remained stuck with rifle-caliber machine guns for the entire war. There was also a technical gap. The United States developed the .50 BMG cartridge between 1918 and the 1920s. Japan never invested in heavy machine gun cartridge development. By 1941, America had a 20-year head start that Japan couldn't close. The post-war legacy is remarkable. The design dates to 1918 when John Browning created it. It was perfected in 1933 as the M2HB. It's still in service in 2025, 92 years and counting. It's the longest-serving U.S. weapon system. Why is it still used? The design is fundamentally sound. The 50 BMG cartridge is still effective. It's versatile across roles and reliable in all conditions. Modern U.S. military still uses it as the primary heavy machine gun. It's vehicle-mounted on Humvees, MRAPs, and tanks. Some helicopters still use it. Naval forces still mount it on small craft. The irony is perfect. Every Japanese World War II machine gun has been retired. The 50 cal is still killing enemies 80 years later. John Browning's design outlasted empires. The verdict is simple. The 50 cal was superior in every measurable category. The Type 92 was heavier, had shorter range, and was less powerful. Japan had no answer. The Browning M250 caliber was the weapon that made Japanese infantry tactics obsolete. It outranged them by more than double. It penetrated their fortifications. It stopped their Banzai charges before they could close. It destroyed their light tanks. It decimated their air attacks. It was mobile, versatile, and everywhere. Japan built their military doctrine around light, mobile infantry with emphasis on fighting spirit and close combat. They assumed they'd face enemies with similar capabilities. The 50 cal represented something they couldn't counter: overwhelming industrial firepower applied at every level. One weapon that could kill infantry at a mile, destroy bunkers, stop charges, penetrate tanks, and shoot down aircraft. Japanese soldiers feared it because there was no defense against it and no weapon to counter it. You couldn't hide from it, you couldn't outrange it, you couldn't armor against it, and Japan couldn't build anything comparable. It was the perfect symbol of American industrial warfare defeating Japanese light infantry doctrine. The fact that it's still in service 92 years later while every Japanese weapon from World War II is in museums tells you everything you need to know.
Sometimes you design something so fundamentally correct that it never becomes obsolete. John Browning did that in 1918, and Japanese infantry paid the price for it from 1941 to 1945.